good day, everybody. Hey, welcome back to my studio. And this is my Smith Corona Silent Super. This is one of my favorite typewriters, and I'm using a ribbon in it that's an all-black ribbon, and it's in fairly good shape. But I've been thinking about ribbons, right? And buying bulks of ribbons, buying individual ribbons. And one of the things I've never bought yet is bulk ribbon. And so last week or week before last, I made a call to Baco Ribbon Supply, and I bought myself 330 yards of red-black nylon ribbon, and I'm gonna take the ribbon out of this Smith Corona and, wind up this new ribbon on its spools. But also I had to figure out how to make this bulk reel of ribbon a little more handy to move around, to handle. You don't want this ribbon all coming loose when you're trying to unwind it and making a huge mess. So I spent this morning working in the garage, building a little fixture for unwinding this ribbon. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll wind some of this into this machine and see how it looks. Stay tuned. Well, here is the roll of ribbon in its original bag, and it has a hub here with about a 40 millimeter hole, and I had to figure out how to keep this intact, maybe make a platform so I can spin it and turn it. And it did kind of remind me of a 45 RPM record player platter, even the size of this, but I didn't have a record player for 45, so I started scavenging around in my workshop, and I came up with a few ideas. First of all, I found this plumbing fixture in my spare plumbing parts that fits almost perfectly into the middle hub of this reel. Okay, so I thought, well, that's cool. And then I had an old sheet of lucite plastic. It still had the peel-off paper on both sides, and the paper, the glue, was totally hardened. So it took me a long time to peel this off, cut it into a circle. So I have this scrap of wood. Now, you guys know me long enough to know that I oftentimes use scraps of wood laying around. I repurpose from different projects. This was probably a camera project at one time. But anyway, this scrap of wood, I had some of these feet that screw on. I'm using a 1024 machine screw, and in there you can see there are two 1024 nuts that stands the platter off a little bit. And then there is also a thin washer on top of those nuts, and then there's a thin washer with two more 1024 nuts that are jammed together so that the bottom nut doesn't turn itself down and lock the platter due to rotation. And then, anyways, I had these 832 screws, and I measured on here and drilled them and tapped them into this plastic so that they fit snugly around this hub, like that, so that now I can take my reel of ribbon and I can just press it right onto this platter, and now I can unwind the ribbon as I need it when I'm spooling up some ribbon for a typewriter. And then, because this is plastic, I can easily use Windex or something and spray it down and take the inky greasiness off here if I want to clean it up, which I thought was a good idea. And next, I have a little kit. Part of this is from Bob Marshall of Typewriter Muse out in Riverside, California. He provides this little typewriter kit, and I've tried to keep the kit pretty well intact. So I have some plastic gloves. Keep your fingers from getting stained with typewriter ink, unless you actually need that. Sometimes that's kind of cool. Okay, so I got a couple tweezers, which is handy for removing ribbons, my little type slug cleaner, mascara brush, and then the little Speedy Spooler spooling device that you can chuck into a drill. And I happen to have brought my little DeWalt cordless screwdriver with a chuck for it, and we can chuck this thing in here. But first, I have to remove the ribbon from the Silent Super. Get the little tweezies, put it on red, jam a couple type bars together, and This is actually very handy, having a couple tweezers like that. And then we can just pull off these two spools. Now these are plastic spools, and I was thinking, I have a spare bin in the garage that I might have metal spools. So I'm thinking I'm going to go out there and look for a set of metal spools. Well, okay, I got a couple of metal spools. It's always nice to use those because the little hooks in the center hub of the spool don't break like they do on the plastic spools. Well, let's get this out of here. Try not to make too big of a mess. Put it onto there. Hey, that fits nicely. Okay, so we have a little starting point right here. And it looks like it is melted with a couple little spots of, like maybe from a soldering iron or something. Who knows? Okay. So, I haven't done this before with this size platter. We're going to employ the Speedy Spooler of Mr. Bob Marshall. I have the red side up, which has to be on the bottom of the spool. And the way the Smith Corona typewriter feeds ribbon, I want to wrap it so it comes out on the bottom of this spool, which when you flip it over, it'll be coming out on this side black up. If that makes any sense. Okay, let's put this little guy in. Put the lock nut. So now that grips it nice and tight. All right. Okay. All right, so trying to figure out how to film this. I'm going to attach the hook on this spool hub, and they go in either direction. This is where you need a third hand. So I'm just going to try to hook that in one of the holes. Okay, we will cut the ribbon. I'm going to put this back into its original box. Original bag, I mean. And try to keep it intact. And I'm sealing up the ribbon in its original bag, plus 2 more gallon-size Ziplocs to try to keep it from drying out in this very dry climate that I live in. Okay, let's undo the old Speedy Spooler, shall we? I really like this Speedy Spooler. Bob has found just the right kind of rubber and metal washers to make it work really effectively. Okay, so if I've done this right, this spool will start on the right side of the typewriter, so black is up. It will thread off into the machine that way. But in the meantime, before we put it in, I have to put some eyelets on it. Okay, so I'm going to use about 6 to 8 inches of ribbon. What I like to do is fold it and then snip a little slit in the middle. And that's a good place for the eyelet to feed itself through. I'm using this really simple craft store eyelet crimper. Something like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is mount this in the machine, and then we will thread it to the other side of the machine and put the other end, the eyelet on the other end of the ribbon. Okay, so let's just get the other end connected to the other metal spool, like that. All right. Put these through the reversing guides on both sides. Red side down is the way I like to use them. So before I actually thread it into the vibrator, I'm going to just manage it like this. Okay, so we're at the other end of the ribbon. I'm going to measure out 6 to 8 inches like here, and I'm going to fold it over and snip a little slit in the middle, a short little slit, so that when I get one of my eyelets connected to the eyelet crimper, hopefully the eyelet will fit right over into that slot, and then crimp it like so. Yay! Both ends have a eyelet that's been crimped on. Okay, I'm on the red setting. I'm going to jam 2 type bars together to raise the vibrator up, and then we can maybe try to get this put on here. And like anything else, it helps to hold your mouth just right. And okay, that should reverse. Well, that looks pretty decent in red. So let's flip it to the black setting, shall we? And I am very impressed with this ribbon thus far. It looks really nice. Well, I had a lot of fun making that little turntable for the reel of Baco Ribbons. So that was 330 yards of nylon ribbon, red-black ribbon, and it costed me $40 plus shipping. If you spool up about 16 yards per ribbon spool, that'll give you about 20 ribbon spools for that one reel, which is about a tad over $2 a reel, and that's pretty inexpensive for high-quality ribbons that are freshly inked. And it gives me the opportunity to make sure that all my machines have good ribbons in them, and also gives me a bulk supply that I can perhaps share with other people. So the whole goal in doing this is to enable my writing creativity, to make my typewriters more functional. Having a good imprint is always important, I think, and having a good supply of well-made ribbons at inexpensive cost is just really excellent. So I'll leave a link down below for the phone number and address of Baco Ribbon Supply. You have to call them on the phone to order. They don't have a website. And I hope you stay creative also and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.